Hey, what's up, traders? Today we're going to be breaking down my $768 gain on NVIDIA. Not the biggest gain in the world, but also not the smallest gain in the world, right? Still respectable. Was called out in chat for 20% plus. So I want to talk about the trade that I took, what led to those profits, of course, the entry, the exit, all of the different callouts, but also talk about why this trade was taken over the AMD trade, and then talk about why AMD was called out where it was and how it was confirmed, and also want to talk about what it means to load contracts. So when I say I'm loading these contracts, what exactly does that mean? So we're going to start off with the day trade watch list, as always. Watch list for today, NVDA, NVIDIA, was a long idea above 455. AMD, long over 106. So NVIDIA, we have a trend line drawn at 455. AMD, we have a trend line drawn here at 106. Sorry, I've been marking this chart up a little bit. So we'll delete that and go over it a little later. So NVIDIA, long at 455. If we look at the daily chart time frame, why would we go long at 455? Well, the stock had pulled back to the $450 hold number, and my thought process this morning was this. If NVIDIA cannot hold the whole number, which is a natural point of support, as a point of support, then it's going to drop and we take it short, right? However, if it can hold that whole number as a point of support, then we can look to take it long. And what we got today on the 5-minute time frame was actually a gap down on NVIDIA. So to take this short under 450, when the stock was opening up very close to 450, it just didn't make any sense. So instead, what I decided to do here is move the short trigger down to 447. That's going to be just below the pre-market lows, because if we are looking for a continuation drop on a stock, and we know that while the stock is gapped down, the pre-market low is lower than the previous day's low of days, so that means our continuation on a drop needs to break the pre-market low, right? So the pre-market low then becomes our short trigger. So we adjust it. Now, what I've said was that this was a gap down day, and it was. NVIDIA opened up right at about 450. If the stock opens up underneath the previous day's closing price on a gap down day, and then reclaims the previous day's close, which is right here on a gap down day, the stock then effectively completes what's known as a red to green move, meaning the stock opened up red down here and pushed and wound up going green, right? Reclaiming the previous day's close. This is a strategy that is known by day traders out there. I mean, it is a really great gap strategy. Red to green moves, green to red moves. If you don't know what they are, look them up, but essentially it all revolves around the previous day's closing price. So first 5-minute candle, we see on NVIDIA, big green candle from the open all the way up to the previous day's closing price, right? Right away, we're going to go to the alert room. Right away, what I said was loaded AMD long, no position yet. Loaded NVIDIA long, no position yet. So what does that mean? And then I give you these contracts, right? This weird numbered code. What the heck is all this? So I give you this number right here, this code. The reason why I give you this code is because a lot of traders in my Discord server use Thinkorswim, right? And it's so much more effective to just highlight the code, copy the code, and then paste the code into your active trader. Clicking here, do Control V, now it pulls up the same exact contracts. It's way faster for you to do that rather than have to decipher this code and say, okay, NVIDIA calls 475, and then on your own, go to the trade tab, type in NVIDIA, choose the same expiration, look for 475, okay, right click, copy the code, and then go to the active trader. You bypass all of that by just highlighting this, copy, and then pasting it. So that's why I send that out that way in this format. Now, what I mean by I loaded NVIDIA long, no position yet, is if NVIDIA is trading, or any stock for that matter, you saw I said it for AMD as well, if NVIDIA or any stock for that matter is trading close to the trigger level or just above the trigger level, I want to be as efficient as possible. I want to be able to take this position as fast as possible, right? So if this does pull back and gives me a quick, 1 or 2 seconds to get my entry, an opportunity to get all I have to do is click buy. But I can't do that if that opportunity flashes, if I have to go through and select the contracts, copy the contracts, paste the contracts, and go through that whole process. It all takes time. So when I say I loaded the contracts, all that I'm doing is selecting the contracts that I want and entering them into the active trader. So then on a pullback, if that's where I want to take my entry, boom, press buy. That is what I mean by loaded the contracts, no position yet. So I wanted to make sure that I cleared that up. Now, to the 1 minute time frame. We get this opening run up on NVDA and then a pullback to the trigger level. And most of the time, majority of the time, I'm taking this dip entry here long, right, for the rally back up to the high of day. But what I noted before the loaded call contracts was stay patient today. Stay patient today. Let those good setups come to you. Don't feel the need to be in a trade just because, and this is the key, wait for confirmations. The only confirmation that we had at this time, based on the 5 minute time frame, was the fact that NVIDIA went from red to green, and the 5 minute candles were closing above the trigger level. We did not have any sort of pullback retest of the trigger level telling us that it was going to validate as a point of support. And we needed that, right? Had this started to bounce and show something like that, yeah, I would have said, let's take that entry there. But we didn't. We didn't take that entry. We didn't get that bounce. So because it fell, we're not taking that entry right there, right? So it's just a matter of staying patient and then waiting for confirmations. So loaded the position long with the contracts, but did not take the position yet. And then 9:47, I said waiting for a bounce before entry, right? So that would be the confirmation, waiting for the bounce. Want to make sure that these hold the trigger levels first as a point of support. As you just saw, it did not. AMD and NVIDIA, then an update, right? Failed to hold the trigger level as support. No trade to be taken there unless they reclaim the level, stand by. So as this was failing, no trade to be taken here unless the stock reclaims the level, stand by, right? And I'm giving you the update on both of them because AMD and NVIDIA at this time were both moving similarly. Remember, we had AMD long above 106, opening move up to break 106, and then the pullback to 106. NVIDIA opening move above 455, and then the pullback to 455. So we're just kind of waiting, right? Looking for confirmation. I'm eyeballing both of these. Now, why I took NVIDIA over AMD, I will discuss in just a minute. But let's talk about why the entry was even taken in the first place on NVIDIA. So 9:59 a.m., I said almost back in play here. NVIDIA is worth watching. 9:59. So on this candle, as it's pressing back above the previous day's close. Now remember, I already told you prior, no trade to be taken unless they reclaim those levels, right? Here we are getting the reclaim. So if a stock is downtrending, which NVIDIA was at this time, it should continue to make lower highs. So this would be your high, your lower high, your lower high, and then your lower high. Wait a minute. We don't get a lower high here. No, now all of a sudden we're getting a higher high, aren't we? So we're getting a higher high. So we're getting a break of the downtrend trend line. So we're utilizing something that I've already taught in a different video. We're utilizing the trend line break strategy. Go watch that video of mine if you haven't done so already. Again, it's called the trend line break strategy. It's what I'm utilizing right here to take this trade. We're identifying that NVIDIA is done downtrending at this time, and it started to create higher highs. Okay, so that's confirmation number one. The break of the downtrend trend line creating higher highs. Confirmation number two would be the reclaim of the previous day's closing price or the reclaim of the trigger level. 455 was set as a trigger level because why? It was a gap down day. This stock, if it does break the PDC, previous day's close, it then goes from red to green. So we reclaim. That would be confirmation number two. Confirmation number three, increasing volume here. Increasing volume on the rally back up, and then confirmation number four would just be your higher highs. So the price action itself, the fact that it is done creating lower highs, it is now creating higher highs. So break of the trend line, the higher highs, reclaim of the previous day's closing price, and the increasing volume on the way up. So we took entry long, NVIDIA, 9:59 a.m. That's about halfway through this candle here. 9:59 a.m. I did not bottom ticket. I waited till we got the move up, at least over the PDC. Went long, market bought here, long, for the run-up. We're immediately up 10%. It pulls back. We were green for the whole trade, did not break back below the trigger level at 455, held through, wound up taking some profits here at about 15% profit, and then waited, held through, took the rest of the position here as we were hitting the high of day for a 20% profit, and the contracts ran much more than that as it continued to push. So why take the profits there? Well, for one, I'm a base hit trader. I aim for the 20% profit. That's pretty good for me. And number two, high of day, as you see here, high of day is always going to be a potential point of resistance. So I could have been up 17%. And if I still see this type of move, I'm taking the profits at 17%. Even though I'm aiming for 20%, that high of day is always going to be a likely point of resistance for me. All right, so that's the breakdown on the trade for NVIDIA. Now let's talk about why this trade was taken over AMD. And by the way, we'll walk you through. The rest of this is just updates. Now up 10%, walking you through, you can move your stop loss up. I went ahead and moved my stop loss up for a 10% stop out. Now up 15%. I said I closed some of it out there. I moved my stop loss up again to break even, sell target 220, and then move stop up to 190. Now up 20%, closed out the rest of the trade there. All of this time stamped in the Discord. Feel free to go back and look. But 10:12 a.m., 10:12 a.m., right? It all matches up. So AMD at this time was then doing what? Well, remember off the day trade watch list, we had a long idea at 106, right? So AMD rallies up and pulls back and then starts this consolidation at 106. And if you're looking at this and saying, well, yeah, Gates, we got the trend line break and all of that here too. Why not take AMD over NVIDIA? The main reason why is because of the previous day's closing price. So if we put these two side by side, all right, we have AMD down here with the trend line break at this time, and then we have NVIDIA over here with the trend line break at this time. When NVIDIA is pressing higher on this candle, on the entry candle at 9:59 a.m., that's going to be right here for AMD. The reason I take NVIDIA over AMD is all because of the previous day's closing price, the PDC, right? For a stock to reclaim the PDC, especially on a gap down day, is a fairly significant thing to happen. AMD's previous day's closing price was still down here, right? It opened up above it. It wasn't a gap down day for AMD, but it was a gap down day for NVIDIA. So that is the sole reason why I went long on NVIDIA over AMD, because it was reclaiming the previous day's closing price. I liked the red to green move happening. And this right here, the fact that it was, not only able to pull back through it, but then also to reclaim it, it's showing me, it's telling me it's showing strength. It's telling me that it's not, it's not indeed going to come all the way back down. It's wanting to push here. So that's a significant level to reclaim. That's why I went with NVIDIA over AMD. So AMD, on the other hand, was not a total washout trade. If you did take this long on the trend line break, during this consolidation or this little move up here, it did still hold this level of support and hardly even broke below 106 at this point. So if you're taking the entry, I find it very doubtful that you would get stopped out on these little candles down here, especially this being on the 1 minute time frame. But that's not where the entry was noted for AMD. So we'll walk you through the AMD alerts because I did say, right, we loaded AMD long, no position yet. I'm not taking both trades because I don't like to be in two trades at once. I'm only in the NVIDIA trade, so I didn't take the AMD trade, but I did walk you through it. What I give you is this, 1009, AMD's worth watching over 106.5. So that's the 1008, 1009 right here. So as this candle is printing, here's 106.5. I said AMD worth watching over 106.5. So you get the move up, and then the next candle breaks, and then you get the run up into and through the high of day. 10:10, so literally the next minute. I think that I typed this out, and then on the turn of the minute, so it was very early into this candle, this alert came out. AMD now a long idea as it presses into higher highs, which is here. So this is your confirmation for an AMD long because it's one, breaking out of the consolidation, right? breaking out of the consolidation here. 2, printing higher highs. 3, validating 106 as a point of support. So you don't, in this scenario, you don't need to wait on the pullback retest of whatever level that this is breaking out of, because it's already consolidated, right? In the Q&A channel of the Discord server, I've answered this question so many times. At what point do you how do you limit buy or differentiate when you limit buy versus when you market buy? This is an instance where you market buy. If the stock consolidates for a period of time above the trigger level or below the trigger level, or just below the trigger level, which we see all of this consolidation here, then on a breakout, you market buy because you already got your consolidation. Chances are it's going to break and run. The momentum's going to be there. It's going to want to push. So that's when you would market buy a breakout versus, on something like this where you don't get any consolidation, you would want to wait for a pullback limit buy. So if you get consolidation at the trigger level, near the trigger, above it, or just below it, and then you get a break of that consolidation, market buy. If you don't get any consolidation around the level, then you would limit buy. And I saw a couple of traders actually miss this trade because they were waiting for the pullback retest, and I'm like, it's already consolidated so much. The momentum's starting now. Like this is your confirmation. So the confirmation on AMD is just that, right? It breaks the consolidation here, presses into the higher high, validates 106 as a point of support. So I'm telling you, AMD now a long idea as it pressed into higher highs. Stop loss can be 106. I'm telling you, take the entry, right? I'm still in NVIDIA, so I won't take AMD right now. And that is why I took the NVIDIA trade over AMD, but decided not to take the AMD trade as it was printing because I was still in the other one. So a couple of different things to be learned here. Take away from this video. Number one, what does it mean to load the contracts? It means I'm just preparing the contracts to take a position. So that all I have to do is press buy when the opportunity presents itself. It's just efficient. Number two, why the NVIDIA trade was taken over the AMD trade. Number three, how we utilize the trend line break strategy to identify the trend change on NVIDIA. And then number four, why AMD was called out in chat when it was called out. All right. And then also, I guess number five, when to market buy versus when to limit buy. I hope that the videos helped you out. A lot of information to take in. Rewatch this video if you have to. I know that it could be a lot especially if it's your first time hearing this stuff. But I want to thank you for your time and sticking around for as long as you have. So if you haven't done so already, please press that like button for me. It's the best way to support this type of work that I do. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, do so. It's free. I post great trading content and information, and I don't really know too many traders out there that are posting information quite like this. Good luck with your trading. Again, thank you for watching and thank you for your support. I will see you in chat. Take care.